Any other questions about the audits, the Screaming Frog or the content audit? Any question? I'm happy to, I can keep going with we could do the competition audit as well if you guys want to see that one. I got to vote for yes. Any other people?
I just want to know what to do with the information, but I know that's a different
Ah,
class.
yeah. Okay. So let me show you. I'll show you another one that I did where I wound up grouping it's massive stupid project that is took us a long time to get organized. But what we had was, okay, so I will show you this client's website because we did content consolidation for them. And so these guys had portfolio pages. So if you go to their portfolio, they had, you can see that this takes you to a portfolio page, but a lot of them had pretty thin content. So what we did is we wound up grouping multiples of them together into which was going to be a portfolio of the service that was offered. So I'll show you what that looks like. What it looked like is that we created a page. So for example, we've got this one that is the portfolio page 4. And so what we did is I'll show you as the layout because that actually, otherwise you're looking at a really weird backend. So what we did is consolidated all of these ones together, then have a call to action. And then what we do is then we're going to set up 301 redirects that all lead from those individual portfolio pages. So the portfolio for the oceans portfolio. Now, instead of going to slash portfolios slash oceans, it now goes to portfolio, forget the name of this one, portfolio corporate communications.
So was this
So
a
that,
new page that you made entirely, or did you repurpose
yeah.
like an already ranking
Oh,
page?
what we did is we repurposed all of the pages that were existing and then consolidated them into one page. Obviously, if it was about a topic, this one's a little different because it's a portfolio, but say it's about a topic. So, what do you guys with journaling? So, say the topic, say you had a bunch of blog posts that were all about like, where do I get started? Like
How
beginner's
to
guide
journal.
to, yeah, or like a beginner's guide to how to journal, something, that way. But, and you have all these disparate blog posts that are about like, here are 3 prompts to have in the morning. And then you would have the 3 prompts. You could put those all under one big long guide. And then that one would have all the redirects from those old pages going to this one. So that even if someone wanted to go to those pages, they would just get taken to the big long page. And then you would have, we also recommend setting up these as well. We'll go over it when we do internal linking and such. But these are they're anchor texts. And this kind of makes a table of contents. Apparently, Google's been ranking these now because it lets them know, oh, these are the tabs that are underneath. So in our case, this is the portfolio, and then this is each project that was
Nice.
there
So
under this portfolio.
those are subheadings, basically.
Bingo. So
Okay.
that's these here, this one. And so this will drop us down to this one here. And you can even see it in the URL. It's got a hashtag and then a BIV for BIV. And so that's just a way of jump. They call them jump links, where you have a table of contents of what's going to be discussed, and then it jumps down to that if you clicked on it. And just so you know, doing these type of projects, they're a lot of work. I won't lie to you, but the results are really good. There's study after study that people have done, especially more recently, of websites where they've cut 30% of their URLs, and it wound up increasing traffic up to one case study was 300%, because there was just basically less for Google to scan. And so it's easier for them to identify which pages should be ranking for what and to rank those pages. Any other questions about the content audit or the Scream Frog audit, how they interact? Does that kind of make sense, Gaia, for what to do as the next
It
steps?
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm imagining there's probably like a maximum page length, or could it just go on forever? Like,
It technically can go on forever. And Google, so this is going to be a little inside baseball for how Google operates, but basically, if you do any coding tests for them, it's a hash that is the way they do everything because it's a single pass of a big O notation. I just realized that was absolutely gibberish to you guys probably, but basically, if you run through something once, a page once, and run through it, even if it's 10,000 words, that's easier for Google to do than if they go through 30 pages that have 1,000 each, because they have to load the page. Then resources are developing and loading. Whereas if it loads once and it scans the whole way through, they can identify, and you do the semantic HTML, like you have your proper H2s and your nicely laid out H1s, and everything's laid out properly. Google will know, oh, this is about this topic overall. Here are the subheadings. Okay, now I know when someone's looking up, what are the 3 prompts for beginners to start journaling? They know that subheading's there, because you know how you're seeing more and more that the little highlighted text at the very top, and it shows you that jump to it. They're scanning that and logging it. And then when you ask that question, they know, oh, this person's actually answered that question. And then they can help it so that you can jump straight to it.
Question.
Yeah.
So if we're combining all of these smaller pages that have thin content that we're probably ranking for different keywords, how do we make sure that they're not then competing within this one long text document?
That is a really good question. So that's why you have to pick which ones you consolidate, to make sure that if they not in, you're going to have one main keyword, but that's just not how Google and people interact with the internet these days, is that they're going to have synonyms. They're going to have related keywords. Like I said, a beginner's guide, ultimate beginner's guide to journaling. Well, that would be your big H1. And then your H2s are questions that are going to be related to what is a beginner? What is the best? Should a beginner use digital journals or analog journal? Questions like
Your
that are going to be
is still the main keyword, and then your subheadings are going to be variations of that.
Yeah, answering questions related to that main one. It's the best way. That's the way I think of it. And because ultimately, if you think about how you interact with Google, it's all basically question and answer based. The more you think of like how are people trying to extract information from Google, is that they are like, what is the best? Is it better to use a pencil or a pen for journaling? Like, I'm just having to make stuff up on the fly here. But yeah, like a question like that. So it's still going to be related to beginner's guide to journaling, but it's a subsection within it. And so that's the best way that we kind of look at how to do that, to make sure that you're not cannibalizing, because you definitely can get it where you accidentally start cannibalizing yourself if you don't keep track of it, or if you don't pick the blog posts and pages to combine strategically. So that's, and like going back to the one that I showed you guys with the portfolio, what we did is we had the client identify each project in their portfolio and relate it to what service. So that way it was easy for us to just go, okay, all of these ones are about projection mapping. Boom, they're all together in the projection mapping. And so that's one way that we can look at identifying it and putting it into another term that you'll find in SEO is called topic clusters. It's a big thing that's happening these days. And so you'll have a silo will be your beginner's guide to journaling. And you may have some related blog posts that aren't necessarily going to be under it, but are connected. And so that'll be part of the silo, with the main one being your ultimate guide. And then there'll be some other pages that are still ranking. You can have those related, and then they link in between each other.
So that's the cornerstone content model.
Yeah. Or Skyscraper is by Brian Dean. Let me get you guys a blog post on that. So I'll pop this in the chat. Sorry about that. Yeah, so that's a good one. Anything really SEO related, he's a really good resource to do that. Though watch out for what he says these days, because his website got bought by SEMrush. And so now all of a sudden he talks about backlinks. And he's never talked about backlinks before, but also SEMrush probably drove a dump truck full of money to him. So I can't fault him for it. It's just always be wary of like when someone gets bought by another company, and especially if they do things radically different, all of a sudden you might hear things that you didn't hear before from them. And so, yeah, just be wary about that part. Still really good resource overall for especially on-page copywriting, and yeah, a lot of really practical hands-on stuff because again, when we talked about like off-page SEO and getting backlinks versus on-page, you have full control in theory over what goes on your website. So how you link pages together, you actually can choose that, versus how someone else will give you a link. If they'll give you a link, will they even do decent anchor text? There's all these things that go into it. So it's just a little more complicated to do that part. We don't focus on off page as much, just because effort to benefit it's never really worked out. And anyway, enough of my rambling on backlinks.
Question.
Yeah.
So when you're combining pages all under the same like category,
Yeah.
if you have a number, like you had a number like topics indexed there, are those all H2 headings? Do you have multiple H2 headings?
Yeah.
Or is each?
Yeah, multiple H2 that's perfectly fine. It's multiple H1s that Google says that they don't care, but they also are, it's one of those, yeah, we don't care, but we'd really like you to do semantic HTML and make sure that you only have one. And then your H2s are, like you said, each heading. Really good way to do it, of course, is like just using the title of the page that you had put in.
Yeah.
And so that just becomes the H2 on this new combined page. Another thing is we generally use like a Google Doc if we're going to do that as well to combine it, because it's probably going to need some editing and some finessing to not have it veer wildly, because the topics might not work out perfectly. And so making sure it's a smooth transition between each topic is well done there. Also, it gives people
writers on to help with that. Sorry.
Do we?
Yeah.
No, it just hasn't. Most of the time, it hasn't been that bad. Most people, when they're doing the content consolidation, generally we're doing, like, honestly, a lot of it is not even consolidating. It's just 404 it and then just set up a 301. You can have, I talked about it last time, but there's like I think it's called bulk redirection. I should have really looked that up, but basically they have an automatic one. So if something does 404, it, like, you hit a page that doesn't exist, it just goes to the homepage. And so you could set up like automatic features where it's just like, okay, no matter what page it was, if we've deleted it, send them to the homepage instead. And yeah, that's a big one for it. A lot of it, yeah, it's just about, and you don't, just because I'm saying you should consolidate doesn't mean you have to. There's going to be some times where it's just going to be easier to just get rid of it. And as long as you're tracking it, and that's the other one that we had a lot of work that we did with the client when we did the content consolidation was going, do we want to keep these pages? We're doing that now with their old blog posts. So we have a consolidate, keep, delete, and the client can then pick, oh, I did really like this, or could we keep this one? And so that gives them options as well as to figure out like what status is this page going to have going forward. The thing to keep in mind is it can be a bit of an ongoing project. Like you can dedicate a lot of time to it, but it's also something you can chip away at, just being like, I want to clean up 20 of these URLs and then clean up another 20 URLs and clean up another 20. Like, you don't have to do it all at once. For you, Michelle, it's a really good time because you guys are getting a new website that, since everything's going to be rebuilt, that this is an amazing time to just be like, okay, and these pages, bye-bye.
I'm super interested in those 600 pages that should be deleted.
Yeah, exactly. Because you guys do have, that's going to be a lot of bloat for you guys that you're just going to, if you just cut that off, Google is going to be very content with you guys that it's just, oh, you submitted a new sitemap and there's like 1/10 of the URLs that we got to scan. They're very happy campers when you do that.
That might just be my quick fix in the meanwhile of failed on the website, but look at what I can do on our current website.
Yeah, and you could honestly, even if you set up with yours, you can set it up. They're just draft as well. So they count as much as far as Google's concerned. They don't exist. And then for you guys can still keep the content. It's not like you have to like permanently delete it. Take the content and then repurpose it. And then later on, when you guys have, I'm just in this mode of like ultimate guide to learning or for getting ready for massage college. And then you guys could have that one as one that you launch as well. And so that could be one, especially for any new prospective students. Exactly. That they might want to have that, and oh, hey, sure, make sure to read up on this, or again, like driving traffic to it, that's a good one. And then there's going to be a form to, hey, you want to learn more, like contact us, admissions today, blah blah blah.
I just solved my major.
Mind if I ask another question?
Oh, that's what I'm here for.
Are you done, Michelle? Okay, I didn't want to cut Michelle off. Okay, so if you're building a new site, but people have existing sites that you can take information from, would the smartest way to go about it be to do these audits, look at what their highest performing pages were from their past sites, and then create the keyword map for the new site based on that? Yeah.
Okay. I would definitely do that. If you have historical data on what's worked, use it. There's like absolutely no point in not using that information. We've done that it's a good idea to do these ones to just figure out, especially if you are doing any new sites, to figure out what pages did perform well, what are the keywords that were on those pages. If you have access to that content, then you can repurpose it.
So
I don't
SEO
know
strategy should be part of the like very first meetings, basically.
that is the first thing we do with pretty much everyone. That's very rare exception to it. Yeah, because basically the SEO strategy in these audits, what they're doing is it's what we've learned the hard way is you can't trust the client because they can lie to you or think that they did one thing, but they haven't actually done that. We've definitely had that where they're like, oh yeah, we have the Google Analytics. And then we went in and they're like, oh, I don't know this one. Oh, that's weird. And then you're all of a sudden like your content on it's done because you need the Google Analytics to do it. And yeah, you can't trust the clients for that part. You also, these audits are mostly using Google's resources. So we know that it's coming from Google that says, hey, we know that this site has backlinks. These pages rank for these keywords. So it's definitely, and also your organic traffic is definitely one you want to be keeping track of. And that's done by analytics. And so it's very much, I'm not going to say I'm legally not allowed to say that Google uses Google Analytics to track people across the internet, but it would be mighty convenient for them if they could have access to 70% of all websites that have it installed and then just be able to know information about every website and how it interacts with people. So that would be one second. I'm just going to close.
Oh, there's so much to learn. Hey, guys. It's a deep
Yeah,
hole.
it is. SEOs have been around since before Google. One of the people we follow, Rusty Brick, he got started on Alta Vista, which I think they were 96, 98 when that happened. So yeah, there's been a lot of stuff. There's a lot of really complicated stuff. I'd also say, just so that you guys are aware, I don't know if we mentioned this with AI writers, they are a useful tool, but remember that they are a tool and cannot replace people. They're not that good. And B, there's a May update from Google where they basically wiped out all websites that were entirely generated with GPT-3. Those are the big losers where people had, even if you used it in conjunction with your own editing and making it make sense, that was fine. But basically, if they could deconstruct it and be like, oh, you just used a bot to write this, they would downrank you immediately and you'd go from tons of traffic to zero, like flatlined overnight. So just a heads up for you guys. But again, really useful tool. Again, especially for Kaya, you're saying that you would have a new website with new content, but probably based on the old content. AI writers are really useful for that to just, oh, I need this to be like a close variation of this blog post. And then it will run through it and then have it for, especially there's ones focused around keywords like SEO ones. You can have it just generate it based on a keyword as well, or edit it slightly so that it would be different. And so Google would consider
Which
it
one
to be
did you
different.
recommend for that again? Swift or something?
Oh, Surfer SEO.
Surfer, okay.
Yeah, that's the one that I've been using right now. The one thing also to keep in mind with these tools is that these guys also don't do a trial period. Just so you know, they'll make you pay, but apparently they're really good about giving you the 30-day money back. So if you do ask for it, apparently they're really good. That's what everyone said. Yeah, but these tools, I've heard it well described as they're like a hockey stick for your growth. Basically, it's going to be hard and almost be a detriment at the start until you and it are synced up and when to use it, how to use it, what structure you want. And then it will take off. But there's a lot of starting work of just how to structure it. And they're less good for like writing content, but they're good for a prompt, a table of contents. Could be really good. So they'll give you the five H2s that you might need. And then from there, you can go and write the actual content that goes on underneath. So they're good for that. Repetitive ads. If you're having to write 300 ads that all are basically the same thing, but it's like change location name, they're really good for that. What other ones? I'm trying to remember. There's been a lot of SEOs if they wanted to test it out, see how it works, and there's a lot of data that writers are still going to be around. That's still going to be a thing. I think anyone who thought that was going to get replaced is what you were buying a little bit too much into the hype. They were never. And also, just so we're clarifying, that guy at Google, that Lambda was not sent. It was the guy fooled himself with the GPT-3 transformer and just spooked himself. I don't know if you had followed that, but there was a guy at Google who thought that their chatbot had gained sentience and it did not. So yeah, any other questions?
I have one. I guess it's opposite of validating, but like the portfolio index, if you have a blog and you have a main blog page, but say you have different categories, local businesses or things like that. Would you recommend like a page with an index with all those businesses, or articles about selling your home and a page with an index of those, or what do you recommend?
Oh, okay.
Or if that's another class, I can wait.
No, so that one, it's a little, what you're asking for is slightly different if I'm understanding you
Mhm.
correctly. And what you're saying is you've got like a category page about blog posts about X topic, and
Mhm.
it's all of them
Correct.
all together.
Yep.
Yeah, so that would be a category page or a collection page. So the example I would give is in, so e-commerce, say you have an online store, the actual products themselves can be really hard to rank for, but the
Mhm.
collection page for that group of products is a really good way for you to do it. So you're and what you do is you put in the description, like describing, content about it. So that's what I would do in order for you to have unique content is in the description of the page. Usually they'll have a spot where they'll let you do a heading and then like a description of a collection page. I would add it there and add 300 unique words, and it could just be about the general topic. So for you guys, it could be local businesses in Gig Harbor or what to do in Gig Harbor. So I'm just calling, but that would be the subject. And then you would have a description saying there are many fun activities to do in Gig Harbor, from sailing to swimming and everything in between. And then you blah, 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 blah. And then you would write a description, and then it would have all the blog posts that would go off of that. And then, but that would be more of like a hub and spoke style rather than
Mhm.
skyscraper, where it's actually goes off into individual ones. And especially for you guys, because you had some discovery content that showed up as well. So in Google Discovery, you guys had, especially the Gig Harbor book, got really high
Okay.
ranking. So that was one thing to keep in mind for you guys, is that Discovery probably wants it to be a shorter page. Generally, it's still very amorphous, the how Google Discovery works and how you show up and what keywords did you put in. And they're very cagey about it right now, which is very annoying because they're like, hey, we're going to have a new platform. We're going to tell you you're ranking on it. No, we're not going to tell you how you got on there. And so it's not my favorite right at the moment with them about that part, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. And yeah, that's one how I would think about that for years. Whereas a skyscraper content would again be like ultimate guide to home buying in Gig Harbor. And then
Mhm.
and then that would also have links that would go off to like what to do. And then you could have that go off to that collection page, and it would be then, because that would fit within the skyscraper. It's going to have like what to do in Gig Harbor, what are the different neighborhoods in Gig Harbor, and then you would have a link to your category page about locations. And so that's more of how I would think of it and integrating it, is because the skyscraper is going to get reinforced by all these other pages, whether it's like I'm trying to think of a good example. So the journaling one, I would do something like, there's lots of debate about whether doing an analog versus digital journal is right. And then that link, debate about analog versus digital, would go to a blog post that actually goes about the pros and cons about it, because that just reinforces the point that you just made there, is that you have a blog about that. But it's separate. It wouldn't really fit within a beginner's guide, but it would be something that, oh, I want to learn more about that. I would go over there, learn that, and then go back to the skyscraper where I'm learning about each of the steps or each of the items in the table of contents.
Okay, so you might have a general paragraph about that particular topic. Then you might have an index, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many steps. But in the general paragraph, you could also hyperlink to other things that might not directly be in the index.
Yeah, or might not.
Okay.
They would reinforce the topic, but doesn't necessarily want to be you shouldn't integrate them into that page, because because you can also have ones that integrate into other pages as well, about like an about page that you mentioned, page loves to go see what to do in Gig Harbor, and then that would also link to it. And so what it's about is more just that page standing alone, but it's helping reinforcing a couple of spots as well with filling out how all these pages interconnect.
Is there a way to look at that visually? Is there like something you can generate online where it like maps out all the connections?
That's a really great question. Let me see. I think Screaming Frog has it, but it's been a while since
I tried to find some because I was like, I just want to see a picture of this.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll show you what Screaming Frog does it. So basically, when we're here, This is a table. So it's like a regular grid that we would have. Please don't blow up. Okay, good. So this is what we've been looking at. And then if you go over to this other one, this will make the hierarchy of folders. So this can be a jumping off point for you guys, is like looking at it as like, okay, under college of massage, we have a folder we have another one that's students. And then under that, there's going to be jobs. And then it has more folders that are underneath of it. Then you've also got Victoria has clinic, admissions, apply now. Those are all under it, making it as like I know what you're talking about, like a big mind map of it. I haven't heard of one. That would be a really cool idea. I might steal that or have it as like an add-on for a Miro or any sort of mind mapping tool that you could give them the list and then how they interact. Yeah, because that would be, it's definitely one that some people, like old school people, when I was talking about internal linking, would get it with yield whiteboard, and there's just straight up, this is the homepage, so this is going to link to here with this keyword, this is going to link to here with this keyword, and like just straight up just map it out by hand.
I tried to do that in Adobe XD, and they did have an interesting, like in the prototyping menu, you could map out the links a little bit, but I was like, I just want to plop this in and have a robot do it for me.
Yeah, there's a lot where you're like, this feels like this is something that could be automated. Like it just has the vibe of, okay, I give you this, scan this website. Actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, SEO crawler visualization, site visualizer. Let's see if this does it. I just tried to Google. This is site visualizer. I don't really trust to pay for them because it's not secured. That's not good. But let's see what put on a website. Oh, wow. This is pretty old. Wow. Alexa rankings doesn't. Hey, it's fine. It's fine. Sorry about that. That was neighborhood dog barking. And so now our dogs are barking. Yeah, I'll have to do a bit more Googling, but I think it's probably possible. There's probably a tool out there.
One in the chat that looks maybe promising. You can check out later.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. So this one's doing visualizations based on keywords for your searches.
Oh, okay.
So how, like word clouds, very similar concepts. Yeah. I'll have to do some more research on it. And Peach, just lay down. Sorry. And yeah, there's definitely mapping it out. It's definitely super important to do. It's just, especially when we have something like when you're doing the meta mapping where we keep track of the page title meta descriptions and then what keyword we've picked for the page, and then rewriting those the page titles meta descriptions. You want to keep track of the keyword that you did for that part, because then you're going to use that in the anchor text linking to it. And that's going to be part of your internal linking strategy, is that each time you mention it, like you're saying each time, hey, check out our ultimate guide to beginners journaling. That would be your long tail keyword. Then every page that links to it, always when they link to it, it's, hey, check out our ultimate guide for beginners in journaling.
Use the keyword for the new page that you're linking to.
Every page that's linking to that one always uses the same bit of text as the anchor. It's extremely important. It needs to be a unique identifier. You don't want to learn more. You don't want buy here or just a straight up link, because that's just not as valuable, because Google does take in that anchor text.
So the anchor text for the parent page or the child page that you're leading to? The
anchor text, it's important to the page that you're going to.
Okay.
Because Google, what they do is they scan those and then they go to that page and they're like, so you want it to be unique to that page. The example is if I have 2 recipe pages and they're like grain-free chocolate chip cookies and low carb chocolate chip cookies, I want to use those unique identifiers for each one of those pages, because if I just say chocolate chip cookie recipe and I do have 2, Google's going to be like, why did you say that this one's about the grain-free ones? Why didn't you say that? And so they do mark that stuff and they keep track of it. Yeah. We having fun? Are we excited about audits? Yeah. Auditing. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And lucky for you, you're not as bad as one of our clients that we're doing an audit for, the one that I had to get the paid tier for. He had so many URLs that I can't use search or Google Sheets.
What?
Yeah, because after 30,000 rows, Google Sheets slows down a lot. And I'd heard this and I'm like, because I've been Googling because there's a thing called BigQuery that people use with Google. And I'm like, when would I ever use this? This is stupid. And then literally like after I learned about it, it was like, oh yeah, no, this will slow right down at 30,000. And here I am with like 40,000 URLs that are technically live because they blocked me from like just using a regular spider crawler. And so I had to say like everything, just I don't care, just give me it all. And so yeah, that one, it's not a good idea. Don't recommend it.
Does your brain hurt with that many links? Oh my God.
Most of them are going to get filtered out. Most of them are going to be tags, categories, admin pages. Like I'm not super stressed about it. It was just, it's annoying because you have all of them and it's like slow. So you can't go through it quickly or add a bunch of formatting because it's just, yeah, we don't know what to do. It's not there. And CSVs and Google Sheets is very powerful, but it has limitations. Like very quickly, it has a lot of limitations, especially if it's more than, once you go to 5 figures and you're starting to do fancy things, you probably should look at another option. Yeah. The biggest, so yeah, for you guys, once we've done, so we did cover the competition audit a little bit as well when in the Q&A last week when we did the spying on your competition, and we used the VPN to go look for. I'll just put it in the chat. Why did it not? And so we'll talk about it again today. I'll show you guys what it would be. So this is a fun little VPN tool to get it so that you can pretend to be anywhere, especially really good for local service-based businesses, whether it's like Gig Harbor real estate agent, or if it's college massage, and then you're putting in like New West as or Vancouver, then you can, I'll share my screen. We'll go over how we use that. So in this case, what am I going to do? I'm going to do location Gig Harbor. So hard not to put the U in there. And real estate agent. Sometimes if you just do, okay, this did do the near me. So we got pages and third. Generally, okay, the other. So you can also set off a local search by putting in this near me. And so this pretends that I'm in Gig Harbor. And for that, I could see, oh, so that's interesting. The near me pushed her ranking down 1. So that is interesting.
So this is to see who's ranking for the words that you're putting in the search query. Is that it?
Yeah. And but the cool part about this is it has none of the metadata that if you were just even incognito, so we can pretend to be anywhere. So I could pretend to be in Toronto looking up countertop companies. And so I don't have, because if I just did it from my location, my IP address also will come up as a factor with how things rank, as well as all my previous searches. So it's definitely one for you guys with a massage school. That would be a really good use case for it. And also don't abuse it too much, because I have gotten soft blocked out of using it because they're like, hey, this feels like a bot. You need to verify. And because it's using an iframe, you can't actually click on the check it off. It just refreshes the iframe. So not fun. But yeah, a lot of those little hacks and stuff like that are very time sensitive, in the sense that like Google will figure out pretty quick that it's like, oh, this feels like a bot. And so they'll just block you from using it. Yeah. Same for, what was the other one? Oh, if you remember search operators. So looking for by type, by file. If you go past page 1, you will have to verify that you're not a robot, because people have used those in a scripting. They just write a little computer script that like just goes to Google and looks for everything with SEO, and the file type is PDF. And so people have definitely abused it, and naturally Google will get a little wary. Do we feel like we've got a bit of an understanding on what we're going to be doing with the content audit, how it's going to interact, and also like how to use it as a launching off point to make a bit of a strategy out of things?
How to make a strategy? What do you mean? How would you make a strategy?
We talked about this for yours, a good one, a strategy that came out of it. Oh, let me bring up your content audits. So in this case, we could look at, because you have, what is this, 773 pages that are just no traffic and no backlinks, like zero, nada. zilch. These would be really good that you could just say to the team, hey, I want to put a soft draft, all of these.
Yeah.
And then from there, we're just going to set up a redirect that goes to the homepage. If they do hit a 404, boom, you've already cleared out 73 URLs that way. So this is like a strategy where now you can see, oh, because I have, also watch out for these ones. This is a tag. You are not going to be able to delete it.
What does that mean?
So these are tags. They're auto-generated by Google or by WordPress. Let me see. So results. And so this is going to have results as a tag here.
Okay.
So these are generated inside of WordPress. They're usually like a
tags for keywords, like in WordPress on the right-hand side.
No, these ones are there for organization, and they used to be much more popular with that people did use them interchangeably, and it goes back to those the page that aggregates them all. And then that was something that people were requesting or were ranking for. And so now it wouldn't be that way. You can have them, but let me just see. What is this page?
That's a blog.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember if it's on blog or. So we're going to edit the post. So this one is going to be this on the right hand side. Yeah, see categories. And we got tags.
Okay.
And that's where they're coming from. Usually what happens from this is that they then get organized. You have your posts that get organized into the different categories. I think. Yeah, so this is here, the categories. You can go into editing that, and you can actually put a bit of content there, and it can be styled.
So is a category like a silo on the sitemap? Is that what that is?
A category is, think of it more like a collection on an e-commerce website. So you would have the shoes collection or fall shoes collection, and then that collection is going to have a bunch of products, or it could also be a category that's called getting ready to join the college. I'm just, again, spitballing, but say that, and it's all about the pre-admission stuff. That would then collect all of the pre-admission stuff together into one, and that collection page would then have its own, would be how we were talking about earlier with the Gig Harbor, things to do in Gig Harbor, and then that would have aggregated all these different blog post types into one.
Okay.
And so it's more like a hub. It's hub and spoke is the term that they use. So it's like the hub is the category, and then the spokes are going off to each of the individual pages.
Okay. And then on the tags, should we be doing anything with that? Should we be adding the tags that we want of things to link?
That is a great question. I will be honest with you. I need to do a bit more research.
No stress. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no worries. It's something I do want to know about, because knowing how those pages, because you do have some control over them, that it's might be worth it to use it. The thing that I get nervous about with those collection or category pages is you want to have it be an excerpt. You don't want the whole blog post, because then it could be duplicate. You've got it on two spots in the website, the exact same content. Whereas if you have a little snippet that attracts people, that's what you want to have set up if you can.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, general for you with the new website builder, that the new block system that they have is much better. I don't know what if you're using a builder like Elementor.
Using Elementor, yeah.
Okay, Elementor is fairly good. We use Cadence is the one with a K. And the reason why we like Cadence more is because it's actually just extension of the existing block editor and just adds a bunch of new feature sets to it. And so this one's a really useful one, because it basically you can get extremely high page speed scores from it, because you're not actually like adding any extra code. It's technically using the existing stuff and then just, okay, now here's a new version, or like I want a specialty block that does, I'm struggling with finding like a contact form 7. And so they have a special block that's designed with contact form 7 that you can set up. And so it's a way that you can
way
just
faster sites.
Really fast sites. Like it says that it's slow on mobile, but you have to take the mobile tests with a little bit of grain of salt, because it's still, you can see if you go to our website, seymourdigitalmedia.com, that one is on Cadence.
Damn, I wish I knew this when we started the project.
Don't worry. Like Elementor is actually one of the. You notice how I didn't say no, run away from it, redo everything. No, Elementor. Yeah. It's honestly they're fine. They're fine of all of them as long as your web developer is cognizant of some of the page speed insight stuff, and you guys do trying to use like a bunch of technical terms. But if you do something called minification, which is basically when you see code and it makes sense where it's like function and then the name of the function, and it's got like a bunch of arguments, and the arguments are like, I want the name and I want the name, their ID, and it's like something else. It's minification strips all that out, and it's just like function A. It takes an argument B, C, and D, and to a computer that's fine. They can keep track of who's A, B, C, and D and how that interacts with it. But like humans, it's like unreadable. And so a lot of code, it's just like take out as many characters as we need, make it as compressed as possible, no white spaces, no. And there's a lot
like
of
the main database folders, like of the
you use a plugin called W3 Total Cache. Candice, you don't have to worry about any of this. Squarespace does all that for you.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the kind of the plus and minus of using someone else's system like Squarespace.
Is Beaver Builder horrible?
Oh no, it's lovely. It's so easy to use.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Really? I've had quite a different experience, but that's just me.
Oh no. What do you find difficult to use?
Of all of the builders that we've had to use, it's it and the Muffin Builder was incredibly. That was the worst one where I wanted to tear my eyes out when I was using it. And it was easily the worst thing I've used in a long time. And I was very happy when that client quit because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to finish this stupid blog. Yeah, it was not my favorite. Generally, though, most of them are fairly good. Divi is one you got to watch out for. Be very cautious of the Divi theme because it bloat. It just loves putting way too much HTML on your page. Oh, and so that I just put in the plugin W3 Total Cache. It's honestly one of my favorite plugins. It's absolutely mandatory for any new setup that we have because what it does is it does caching, it does minification, it does lazy loading. So lazy loading is a little trick where basically if it's not in the window, it doesn't load that image. And so what it does is that you don't have to load every single image that's on a page. You just have to load the one that's there needed right now. And then the other one is caching, which is basically the idea of if you visit a website a second time, that it keeps a little bit of that website in your browser so that it loads faster the second time. So that's what, and a lot of websites do that, especially anything using Shopify. There's a lot of caching that goes on with Shopify in order to make it actually run quickly. And yeah, especially anything, e-commerce people absolutely love it. It's also, it's also a pro tip. If you ever run into an issue with a website where it starts functioning weird, looking at you, Wix does that a lot. You have to clear your cache quite frequently. I'll show you guys how to do that. I had to talk so many people through it on Shopify that I can pretty much do it without even looking. So you go in the top left-hand corner, you'll see the 3 dots next to your face. And from there, we're going to go down to settings, the second last of the menu. In settings, you're going to go to privacy and security. Then from privacy and security, you're going to go to clear browsing history. And you can uncheck all these other ones. Cached files and images frees up to 62. I don't really care about it freeing up, but what I do care about is just clearing that cache. So what can happen is with that, and then you just do a reload on the page that you're having some hard time with, and then boom, you're off to the races. It's a really good one for, especially if you guys are making lots of edits to a page and it's starting to act weird and not show up when you do the edits. Cache is probably it. If you're doing a lot of testing, do the testing in an incognito browser because it doesn't hold any cache. You just delete the window and then open it again and you're fine. But
do you have to do that? Oh, sorry.
Oh no, for Squarespace, yes, you should do that for Squarespace. When you're doing like a preview of the page, I would have the preview open in a incognito window. And then you just refresh it on the incognito, and then that way it will keep a pretty good idea of what the actual page is going to look like. Because sometimes when you make the edit, the cache in your browser saves it so that there's minimal difference. We're not loading that. That's stupid. And and then you're trying to tell it like, no, I actually care about every different version of this website. Reload everything again.
Okay. You have to do that because aren't there browser settings for clearing all that when you close the browser?
Oh, like in general or just when you're doing that
Mhm.
work?
General.
I just leave it until something acts weird. And then once they're
Okay.
being weird, then I will clear the cache to make sure it's not me. Because if it's still being weird and I've cleared the cache and it's not me, it's them.
Okay.
Or
Good to
it's
know.
your, like we have Cloudflare.
Oh God. Oh, okay.
And if we have issues and we clear the cache,
Yeah.
it's still happening. It's clearing the cache in Cloud.
Yeah. So Cloudflare is the world's largest CDN, which is a content delivery network. Basically, they have thousands of servers all across the world that hold a little tiny version of your website. That best way I could describe it as basically it does loading websites really quickly. It does posting to a website very slowly. So that means that if someone fills out a contact form, that's actually pretty slow going through Cloudflare overall. And that's by design, right? Like they're there to do is serve information. And as long as they can do that, then you're pretty good. And Cloudflare also does connect to W3 Total Cache as well. They have a whole spot for CDNs. I've never really found a use case for it. I don't even think you guys would necessarily need it. I think that might be overkill for you guys. It's very
There was some security issue that happened a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay. So if that's the case, yeah, if you've been hit with any like a DDoS, and you guys have managed to tip on all kinds of like weird technical things so a DDoS attack, that's a really common way that basically there's whole like bot networks, like little, especially in anything that's Wi-Fi connected that's not a computer. There's whole hospitals that are under control of a hacker net. They can't shut down because it would kill everyone inside the hospital, and they know it. And they also left the password as password, that company, when they built the IoT devices. Yeah, good job, guys. And so, yeah, what these DDoS is, it goes and it's like, hey, we want to shut down this person's website. What they do is they say, all say 2,000 items that are under control in this hospital, send a request, like just a simple request to get the homepage of this website. And you just have thousands of them, and it just overloads the servers.
This is exactly what they described. Yeah.
That's once you said security issue and you got Cloudflare, I was like, oh, that's a DDoS attack. I don't even need to know any other details other than that's what it's designed to do. Is Cloudflare is designed to basically, instead of you being one server that gets hit, you diversified it across the whole network of the internet, so that even if one node gets hit, again, you won't have to worry about that with Squarespace. They do that by default with the way that they host your website. Wow, we certainly covered the gamut of just weird edge cases of like internet stuff.
Epic. I hope it all makes it onto the recording.
Oh yeah, it's all there. We're recording. You can, here's a fun edge case, one that no one ever uses, which is terrifying because there's no solution for it if they did. It's called a slow Laurel attack, which is basically you send a request, but you throttle the bit rate, meaning like the rate in which your request goes. You just open up I would like this, but you don't tell them what the what is. So it's just an open connection that can't be closed, because the computer says as long as they're connecting to me and they're sending me a bit of information, and then instead of 1,000 people making requests, you just have 10 open requests, and that just clogs up the queue, and there's no solution for it. So all more fun stuff. Yeah. Just don't think about it when you go flying or use a bank card. Really don't think about it, because those mainframes are just a strong breeze can knock them over. And they really don't want
stop.
It's all it's just this Rube Goldberg machine we've put together called the internet, and it's just well built, just
It's
layers
safe.
on. Or at least don't do what Facebook did and put your entire DNS server in one room that requires power to get into and had no emergency. So last year when Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram went down, that was the reason. Is that they were like, oh, we're going to be safe and store our DNS server in one spot on location. They just never bothered to think, hey, what if we lose power?
Oops.
Yeah. So
I have to take off because I've got a meeting now, but thank you so much. It was awesome.
No problem. And let us know if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns. All right, everyone. Bye for now.